to the extent of the law. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Senator Sifuna.
Chair, allow me to begin by correcting what Senator for Kitui has said. It is not the governors who have been misadvised. It is the governors misadvising our national leaders. It is the governors who have misadvised my party about the position of... this is true. You know, Chair, I said in Diani, because I didn't want to attend that conference that was held in your county, not because I don't like the people of Homa Bay. It's a beautiful place. But this jamboree that is put together by the governors without that if you are in a position of advising any leader in this country, I was telling the Attorney General that what leaders need in this country is not prayer. Although prayer is important, if you are in a position of Attorney General, your responsibility is to give proper advice to your boss. Even when it comes to matters of devolution, these governors are the ones who are misadvising Mzee. Because you remember when we had a meeting with the party leader in the Senate, when he came out of that meeting, the pronouncements he made, including strengthening the place of Senate in order for devolution to succeed, those were the proper words or the proper advice that Jacom gives. And I know his mind. I know his position on devolution. He's the father of devolution. I was very shocked to hear some of those pronouncements because I know he's been misadvised. Number two, Honorable Chair, I know that Article 96 of the Constitution places upon us the responsibility to oversight monies that go to devolved units. It is there in plain black and white. And in fact, the Supreme Court extended it when the governors were trying to argue that we only oversight the revenue that comes from shareable revenue in the national share and not on-source revenue. The Supreme Court extended and said we can oversight both on-source revenue and money that comes from the equitable share. If you look at Article 125 of the Constitution, it gives Parliament and its committees the power to summon anybody. Anybody. It doesn't have to be a governor. Or we can summon these people from the media. If we wanted to have a conversation with, what is his name? My friend Mauritius Oduor, who's behind that camera. If we want to summon him, we can sit there on that chair and take oath. Any person can be summoned by committees of Parliament. So it is improper advice to tell leaders that the Senate or the committees of this House cannot call governors to appear before this. Honorable Chair, the controversy was settled in that case that Senior Counsel has referred to by the Supreme Court. When governors tried to argue that they should not appear before the Senate, it was made very clear that the county assemblies exercise what they call primary oversight and that the Senate exercises secondary oversight. Our biggest frustration as members of the Senate is that we have a leadership that do not know how to defend the institution. So aspersions are cast about the conduct of committees, the conduct of Parliament, the conduct of the Senate. You have your speaker there. He doesn't say anything. You have the majority leader, the minority leader, they don't say anything. By now I expected, Honorable Chair, to have a statement from Honorable Mazayo and Honorable Cheriot defending the institution and putting the record straight. Our speaker, he's nowhere to be seen. And even you, Chair, I want to challenge you, and the Senator for Kituya said, Chair, if you don't defend this committee, because this committee was specifically singled out, they say we are the rent seekers in the Senate. Chair, if you don't defend us today, we are willing to move a motion of your removal today. Because we cannot continue like this. If somebody has any evidence, let them present it. I don't think, Chair, we have ever sent you to get money from anybody. We don't send our chairs there. In this committee, there's no welfare, there's no member for welfare here, as far as I know. So, Chairman, you just know that you, as a leader of this committee, have a responsibility to defend this committee. We can't do it on our own and individually. I'm putting the leadership of the Senate on notice. The Speaker must defend his institution. He is the head of the House. Our leadership, the majority and minority leader, they should not go to those meetings to just make jokes about welfare. They should defend the institution. and call out the hypocrites who are pointing fingers at Parliament, and yet we know they are the originators of corruption in this country. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. I know you made very strong remarks, but we must also reflect that we've got the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, which governs how unethical conduct is dealt with in Parliament. And maybe the other speakers can address themselves to that, because if there are allegations of misconduct on the part of Parliament, it is the Speaker who chairs the relevant committees who should then call for evidence so that we can go through the processes of determining whether members are engaging in unethical conduct. So all those are instruments that are already available to us in law that we must exhaust before Sifuna moves the motion of impeachment against the Speaker. Who goes next?
Vice Chair. To really agree how to proceed with Governor Sang, because the last time he was here, we sent him away because he was not prepared. The documents were not well prepared, and so we sent him away. Today, he could be feigning sickness. So I think the next time we're inviting him, he should come under summons. Otherwise, he does not want to come and account. He's escaping accountability. His Senate has already indicated that there are very difficult questions that he's supposed to come and answer. So I would really implore, as you rule, that let Governor Sang come under summons, because he's not taking the work of this committee seriously. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Dulo.
Chair, I really don't know whether it's really necessary to have a debate on this matter, whether the governors should appear before the House or before the committees of the House. This debate came much earlier in 2013, and it went all the way, as my colleagues have said, to the Supreme Court, where it was challenged, and there were actually decisions at that level that governors must appear that when governors require budget or money, they come on their knees to the Senate. But when it comes to accountability, we don't have rules. It's the same way that in a house, the mother will come for some money from the father. But when the father will ask for accountability, she will say, I'm not accountable to you, I'll not account for that money. That pronouncement was made in my backyard. People were celebrating because of my oversight role. But for me, I know my responsibility. Whoever says governors should not appear before committees of the House should amend the Constitution and the relevant legislations. For them to say that oversight should be carried out by the Assembly, it automatically, they know that will not happen, and they will get away with corruption in the county. I have assemblies even summon chief officers and CECs. They refuse to appear. What about the assemblies? Who deny even assemblies their budget? Chair, I think we need to close this debate. I spoke to an old man from my county yesterday when those decisions or maybe those conversations came up in yesterday's meeting. That we know the law. Those are just, PR exercise. Nyinyi kama senators mufanye kazi yenu. So as he has said, let us do our job. The rest, they will fight for it. Who don't appear or refuse to appear, take serious action against them. Otherwise, Senate should close its doors and go to bed. I thank you.
Thank you. Samburu, Deputy Whip of Majority.
Chair, thank you. Chair, last time when we were having the governor here, there were several issues that we needed to go through as a committee that were pointed out by the Auditor General. And the governor agreed with the committee for more time to furnish the committee with the documents. So I don't know the reasons why now that he has that opportunity to appear before this committee, that he is writing a letter in the evening at night informing the committee that he is not able to appear before this committee. So Chair, I think the right thing we do as a committee is let's not give him a chance of invitation. Let's summon the governor to appear before the committee to answer or to shed light on those issues that have been pointed out by the Auditor General. Thank you.
Chair, can I add?
Okay, Senator Chirati.
Since this is my country, I would request also that apart from summoning him, the committee should also fine him, as my colleagues have said. They should fine him because the last time they were non-provision of documentation. And you know, I think we wanted to give governors a second bite of the cherry in consideration of these audit reports. We always do it in good faith. So, Chair, I agree. And all the governors must be aware that they need and should appear. Just to add on what the Deputy Minority Whip has said, Chair, is while Parliament is under attack, the leaders of institution must and should be at the forefront to correct what is being peddled in public. Because the people making those statements are not members of Parliament. There are people who are not elected and they don't sit in Parliament. So I think the leadership, the speakers of both houses, because, Chair, after yesterday meeting, some of us are caucusing. Both speakers of the House must be put on notice that they are working on a very dangerous path. And members are thinking otherwise. That if this accountability is taken a notch higher, they might become the casualties of what is happening. And they will go before we go. Thank you, Chair.
I think that's the saying that fish rots from the head. So if the fish is rotten, it starts from the top. I think if I was to summarize what my colleagues have submitted, there's been quite a lot of debate over the role of Parliament and particularly the oversight role of Parliament. Some commentators have spoken about the Constitution as it ought to be. We are concerned about the Constitution as it is. My party leader speaks about the Constitution and the law as it ought to be, and he gives a very rich background on the Constitution-making exercise and the compromises that were made at Bomas, and we respect that because he's got a lot of insight. But this is a Constitution that we have, which contains Article 96, which empowers the Senate to conduct oversight over national revenue allocated to counties, and that has been qualified to include the on-source revenue and conditional and unconditional grants. So we are here pursuant to the Constitution that we have, not the Constitution that we should have had at Bomas. We are here pursuant to Article 229(8) of the Constitution that requires the Auditor General to bring audit reports to Parliament and gives us a timeline for their consideration and for making recommendations. We are here pursuant to the Public Audit Act that has very clear procedures on how Parliament should deal with audit reports. We are here pursuant to the decision of the Supreme Court on the oversight role of the Senate. In fact, in the 11th Parliament, governors refused to appear before this committee. It took almost 5 years for this litigation to be concluded, and it was established that governors as chief executive officers, they are defined as such in the Constitution, have a responsibility to appear before Parliament and county assemblies to defend or to provide accountability for their expenditure. We are in no way taking away the power and the duty of the county assembly. The county assembly remains the primary overseer. And there is no day when the Senate tried to veer into that terrain When it comes to budgets, that's the exclusive role of county assemblies. When it comes to appointments, that's the exclusive role of county assemblies. When it comes to integrated development plans, exclusive role of county assemblies. When it comes to expenditure, quarterly expenditure review, exclusive role of county assemblies. And so those who are saying governors and counties should appear before the county assembly are not wrong. They are only wrong to the extent that that should be the final point of oversight. There is secondary oversight that Parliament exercises, and we are doing that pursuant to the constitution we have, not the constitution that we wished we had. Article 125 gives us the power to compel the appearance of any person before this committee, any person, including the president, who is making allegations of unethical conduct on the part of Parliament. I want to challenge the speakers of the two houses, because they are the ones who chair the Powers and Privileges committees, pursuant to the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act. They need to issue a summons to the President, for the President to come and explain who are those people who are demanding bribes, who are those people who are given bribes, because you cannot try Parliament in a kangaroo court when statute already has clear provisions for dealing with unethical conduct on the part of members of National Assembly or members of the Senate. I think we should move away from this lynching, from this kangaroo court mentality, and challenge our speakers that they must convene the necessary committees and listen to evidence from the President and listen to evidence from anybody else who alleges unethical conduct on the part of members of National Assembly. Those are provisions and instruments available in the Constitution and available in the statute. And the question is, for those who claim that they bring bribes to Parliament, why would you bribe Parliament if you're not guilty, in the event that that was to happen? But even for us to determine the veracity of those allegations, Speaker Wetangula and Speaker Kingi, you are the defenders, you are the heads of this institution. You must now exercise Article 125 and summon the President. That article does not exclude the President. It says any person, Parliament has the power to summon them. Let the President come before a committee of Parliament. Let him repeat the things he has been saying in public rallies, the things he has been saying in other places. Let him bring that evidence so that it is processed in accordance with the law. I think finally, we must be careful with our utterances. There are powerful political players in this country who, when they say things, the people take it almost as common law. We must always refer back to the Constitution. We must respect institutions. Parliament is also an institution that deserves respect. The judiciary is also an institution that deserves respect, and it has made certain proclamations and directions on this issue of oversight. I think what is going to emerge also is that any governor who chooses to go with peer influence will have to carry his own cross, because there are clear provisions in the Constitution and law on contempt of Parliament. And honorable members, we must tighten the penalties and sanctions on contempt of Parliament. We have a fine of 500,000 shillings, which governors find very easy to pay. In fact, we have had governors who have paid it more than twice or thrice in one session. So we must tighten those consequences.
Point of information, Chair, I don't mean to interrupt your flow of thought, but in fact, we in the Senate already passed an amendment to the Powers and Privileges Act to enhance those fines, Honorable Chair. The Senate already enhanced those penalties. Honorable Chair Argei, just allow me to inform the Chair that we passed those enhanced amendments. I remember it was sponsored by Senator Osozi. I think they are lying somewhere in the National Assembly. And our colleagues in the National Assembly must now do their bit to make sure that that law becomes law. I am not very sure it will be assented to, given the sort of attitude that is coming from the Office of the President. But we feel that as a Senate we have done our part. The National Assembly needs to push that fine. We pushed it to 2 million, you remember. And we even had gone to the extent of suggesting that we need our own police force in the Parliament and a police cell. Because you remember the frustration we had, and in fact it was this committee, with the governor of Nairobi, where if you say you want him arrested and brought before this committee, you depend on the Inspector General of Police, who might not be very willing to execute that order. The Senator Dulo has a problem with the police command in his county. They can't do anything. So you remember we had suggested that we should of arresting people. When they threaten to arrest us, we will also threaten to arrest them.
It allocates powers to our parliamentary orderlies and sergeants at arms to conduct the functions of a police officer within these proceedings. If the president was to appear before a committee, having been summoned by the speakers, and he became disorderly, the speakers have got the power to direct the parliamentary orderlies to arrest him and throw him out. So we are the ones who have been weak. We have the laws.
You see, Chair, one thing you need to do is, again, choice of words. We are not the ones who are weak. It is our speakers who are not doing what they are supposed to do, Chair. Remember, and you were in that parliament, in the 12th parliament, I remember, or the 11th parliament, when the police surrounded parliament buildings. And Speaker Ekwe Eduro directed that in 5 minutes, I do not want to see any police officer anywhere near Parliament. And he went. Chair, you know, Mr. Chairman, you have to have a conversation with the Speaker, and if you do, then we are going to have a conversation. Razor wire all over, barricaded all over. Last year, today, we are being invaded by the executive. You know,
contempt against Parliament is because we have weak speakers.
Listen, honorable members,
they must take a walk.
Let us be careful with the choice of evidence that he has. That is how the constitution that we have is drafted. Is drafted, and that is a challenge we are putting.
they have a free day, to do whatever they do. No,
and
the Speaker must be able
We draw the line in the sand.
Correct.
This is how far you can go. Beyond this, if you have something to say about Parliament, procedures to say.
So I think our message is that as Parliament we are open to scrutiny.
Yes,
And that scrutiny
that is the point.
must be done in accordance with the constitution we have, not the constitution that we wish to have. That scrutiny must be done in accordance with the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges
And
Act,
outstanding one.
which has given the speakers certain powers to deal with unethical conduct. And we want to challenge all those who are making allegations that we can even have a formal and proper inquiry. And we also want to challenge the president. If you know these people, do not be mourning and crying like every other common person. As a consumer of raw intelligence, and as a person who can direct the DCI to carry out investigations, please, Kenyans want action. To them what they did to Gachagua. I think that's the position, Nandi, and not satisfactory. We shall direct that the governor be compelled to appear before this committee in 2 weeks' time. And he must bring an opinion from a competent when governors are taken to court, COG never sends lawyers. A governor goes to court alone. Here we pass it by 30th of June. We are past CARA. Money has hit the accounts of counties. We passed the formula for revenue allocation. If we can do that with enthusiasm, we don't need to warn them because the Constitution has already made that provision. Senate will not be petty. Senate will not be vindictive. Senate will. So Governor Sang, clerks will be required to appear before us in 2 weeks' time with a letter from a doctor, failure to which we could declare that we fine him and also further declare that he defrays the cost of his officers who took flights to come to Nairobi only for the governor to disappear. I think that then brings closure to the issue of Nandi, because we cannot even consider the documentation in his absence. So he must make sure that proper documentation is before us.
Chair, can you direct that the governor must get well within the next 7 days, so that he's able to... No, just a minute.
But I was within point of information, and he was dancing lame
This
on Sunday.
is what we are saying. The war that the governors have invited us into, we are very capable of fighting that war. They have told our leaders that all we do is to, what did they say? Extort them. Yes. That governor needs to get well within the next 7 days and appear here. If it is not possible, we will conduct meetings of this committee at his bedside in hospital. Because we cannot have these games being played here. And we all know what is happening. In fact, that contempt is exhibited in the fact that somebody has audacity to dispatch a letter at 6 p.m. the day before the meeting. It is absolute contempt. Let them not think that we don't know what they are doing. I am sure he's somewhere admitting himself into, I don't know which is the biggest hospital there.
All hospitals are dysfunctional.
No, I'm sure he's here in Nairobi. I'm sure he's here in Nairobi, somewhere in Karen or in Aga Khan.
No, he should be in Airbnb. He's not like in
hospital. We wish him a quick recovery if that is the case, but let it not be a trick to